Okay, so this is going to be just a very quick walkthrough of using the Lifepath generator in Warstories to make a character. So it's a little bit of a different approach to the archetype one. It's much richer. You get a much deeper character as a result. It obviously takes more time, and you may become way more attached to your character, which may have implications when they bite the bullet, as they say. So War Stories, World War II reenactment RPG. The core setting and premise is that you are playing members of the 101st Airborne Regiment, or I think it's the 82nd Paratrooper Regiment Division. Anyway, whichever. I'm just going to walk through the Lifepath generator, which I love. I love Lifepath generators. I think they are the best way to make characters for these sorts of games. However, they are, as I noted, time consuming. Okay, so what we have up on the screen right now is three things. We have just the Lifepath generator flowchart, which is embedded in the playtest rules. We have in the middle a view of the rules so that we can work through it, and we have a character sheet with a piece of demonstration art from another game that I play. The character sheet is editable, so we'll be filling in the character sheet directly as we go. So without any further ado, let's get on with it. Okay, so the first thing that we have to decide to make any character is make sure we're aligned as a group. So as I noted, the assumption for the base campaign is that you're playing members of an airborne paratrooper unit. So we will stick with that assumption because it's the easiest to fulfill. So the first thing you do is you determine what nationality you are. Now, of course, if we use a random rolling system, you'll see that we've got a D10. If we're playing the 101st, we could be members of a foreign group involved. It's completely up to the players how they want to play that. But for the sake of this conversation, we will assume that my nationality is American. Now, I could have rolled a D10 to do the same thing. Now, I don't have a dice roller up on the screen, but if I roll my dice, I end up with actually Commonwealth, but let's not dwell. Okay, the second thing we're going to do is once we've determined our nationality, we're going to determine our upbringing. Now, the upbringing is really critical. It's, who you were as a child, who you were as a teen, before you started work. It makes a lot of difference to your character view and is really, really, really important. So, let's roll a d6 and see what we get for upbringing. Okay, so we got a 6, which means we were affluent. So you can see that under each of those choices, I get a full table. So if I'd rolled street kid, you're a child raised in a big city orphanage or a destitute teen growing up in the alleys of Depression-era America. On your own, the streets were your greatest tutor. Roll 1d6 to see what your upbringing taught you. Importantly, I will get a selection of 3 skill points, and I will also be identifying what my key attribute is. So let's just roll through that and go to affluent. So if I go to my affluent skill, I'm going to roll a d6 to see what sort of affluent I was. And that affluent is dun, 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 a 5. Okay, so rich as hell capitalist scum, it turns out. Sorry, I'm playing a lot of Russians at the moment, imbibing that dream. So your family owns factories and plants all over the country, employing hundreds, if not thousands, of people. The fact they are paid a pittance and work themselves to the bone, while you enjoyed the best of food and had every opportunity, didn't even register with the teenage you. Okay, so I'm not a great person. Now, coming out of that, I have drive, range, combat, insight, survival, tech, and persuasion as the skills. I can choose to distribute 3 skill points amongst those skills. My key stat will be intelligence, and it turns out I'm an arrogant person. So let's put that in first. Okay, so I'm arrogant. I don't have a virtue yet because virtues are a thing for the future. I can just, if I may, we won't do anything other than note that we have intelligence as our key skill, but as you can see, I had those three skills to choose from. So I'm going to do that right now. And I'm going to take, let's see, well, because I'm going to be in the Airborne Regiment and I want to actually be halfway decent, I'm going to put 1 in range combat, which I've done. I'm going to put 1 into survival. Obviously, I did a lot of roughing it. And I'm going to put 1 into something different. Why not have a passion for driving cars fast? I can't think of a reason why I wouldn't. Okay, so I've distributed my 3. I've got my intelligence, and just note that it said I had a language. So let's roll a d10 and see what language we end up with. So I end up with a 5, which means I'm oddly able to speak Flemish. So I can go to my character sheet here, and I can note that I can speak Flemish. Now, one question. Did it say whether it was basic? It did not. Okay, we're going to assume that I am... Oh, sorry, I have caps lock on. That could explain a lot. So we're going to assume basic because I have no reason not to. So I can now speak Flemish. Could be useful, particularly once we land and we're making our way north. Okay, so the first thing we've done is we have rolled our background. We've found that we grew up in a factory. We grew up owning factories, and we are as affluent as hell. Now, if we go back over to the table, we've done our upbringing. The next thing we do is we roll our pre-war experience. So our pre-war experience will fill in more of your personal history. At this stage, you will be allocated 1 skill point based on your experience and get to allocate 2 more of your choice. You also get to choose to take either 1 talent or specialization. You are 21 and ready to go to war. Well, ready to possibly go to war. All right, so let's roll. Let's go down here. So here's our pre-war experience table. Same trick. Roll a d6. Where do we end up? We end up in professional. So I did not end up in the military. I did not enroll as an officer cadet, and that's labour force. Professional. Okay. Prerequisite. You must have an intellectual affluent upbringing. Well, luckily I do. You've had enough schooling to award you to a degree of some kind. You need to see which field of work you undertook and the skill you gain at +1, either level 1 or add 1 if you've already got that skill, and what event happened to you during that time. You may choose a specialization relevant to your experience. So, let's roll our table again. Wow, I like 5s, it appears. I am a scientist. Well, I was a scientist. As part of your career, you're offered a... So I'm a scientist. I have insight. Now what I do is I roll to see what event I have. So I didn't actually buy any insight previously. So now I have an insight of 1. I have an insight of 1. Yep, there it is. And now I'm going to roll the event to see what happened. Sorry, I rolled a 1. Everyone knows you're terrible at your job. Which kind of actually makes a lot of sense. So I'm affluent. I've paid my way into a science degree. It turns out I'm not very good at it, but Daddy, or Mummy in this case, probably took care of me and made sure that I had a job, even if I was rubbish at it. Your colleagues sneer behind your back, and you know that they have no respect for you whatsoever. I can distribute 2 skill points between insight, survival, and guts. Well, because I know what's coming, I'm going to take 1 point in guts, because I would like to actually be halfway decent at that. And I can put a point in insight or another point in survival. I think I was actually a pretty rubbish scientist. And for the sake of entertainment value, I'm going to take survival. So I was off hunting and shooting and fishing rather than actually doing my job. Now, interestingly, I gain another flaw. You try your best, you don't see it, you're easy to anger or aggressive, so I'm arrogant and I'm surly. Yes, lovely human being that we're developing here. Now, You only have one floor at the end, so my assumption, which I will just make bravely, is that at the end of this, I will clean that up and make a final determination. Uh, oh no, I get two. If so, choose the second one. You may already have one from your life pass. If so, choose the second one. So I'm going to get arrogant and surly, it turns out. Okay, so at the end of that, what have we got? We've got a character who's got, two survival. I've got one range combat. I've got one drive. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 skill points distributed. I haven't spent any points on my strength, agility, intelligence, or empathy yet, but I do know intelligence will be my key skill, my key stat, which means I can raise it to 5 as opposed to 4. Now, we can actually choose to do more pre-war experience, but what that will mean is I take a -1 to a stat. So I would normally get, just to be very clear, I would normally get 15 points to spend between my stats. It's a very beautiful thing. If I take one more round of pre-war experience, then I will only get 14 points. This is a big decision. The 4 stats are key and are universally applicable. So when you have a dice pool, it's comprised of your stat plus your skill. So if you reduce your stat, you are kiboshing 4 skills, not just one. So that can have quite significant implications for you down the road. So it is a big decision, not a minor one. But for the sake of interest, we're going to do that. I'm going to assume that I was a 1920s kind of child and doing those things. Now, so we roll again on our life path. So if we go back up to the top of the pre-war table, there it is again. So I spent one term of, career, and in my second one, I joined the law. I joined law enforcement. Okay, let's just have a quick read of law enforcement. You were a police officer. So I crashed out of science, working assumedly for my parents, and decided to make something of myself, joining the police force. Which police force did I join? I'm glad you asked. I joined the National Law Enforcement Agency, also known as the FBI. My branch skill was infiltrate, so now I'm sneaky. Hooray for me. And in addition to that, what event occurred to me while I was there? A 1. I'm liking these ones. Oh, well, here's a surprise. You just aren't any good at the job, and the promotion board keeps passing you over. No matter how hard you try, you keep letting your colleagues down. So I think we're getting a sense of exactly what I'm like, which is kind of rubbish. So we get 2 skill points to spend between calisthenics and stamina. I'm going to put 1 in each. Why? I don't know. Possibly because I have a thing. I think that, they might keep me alive when I'm crawling my way out of the mud, dragging a parachute behind me. Okay. Now, unfortunately, if you choose another pre-war experience roll for law enforcement, -1 from the roll. If you choose another path, gain +1 to roll. Your superiors try to help you on your way out. So they help me find another job. Anyone that doesn't involve guns. So I think we're getting a very clear image that my character is the sort of person who probably shouldn't be trusted with anything. Okay, so what are we doing next? Okay, so we've done 2 rounds of pre-war. That's all I'm going to do. That's given me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 skill points. Winning at life. Okay, now we're going to roll our war years experience. So this is what's been going on while I was at the war years. We go to the war years table right here. And we roll again. A 6. Civilian working class. I don't think I can get civilian working class. Let's just check. Wow. Okay. You are amongst the hordes of destitute or displaced, clinging to little sanity in this war. Afford you those who survive its atrocities. Your drive to stay alive motivates you further than most. Okay, so this is where Lifepath generators do require a bit of thinking. Obviously, as an American, from an affluent background, for me to actually be on this list, I would have to think pretty hard. Now, I think the story of my character is, and we can see it in the trajectory of his life path, is that he used to be rich and his family used to be rich. And in the 1920s, they were very rich. Then in the 1930s, they were not very rich, and he's now on the edge of existence. He tried to get a job as a scientist. He lost it because mummy and daddy weren't around anymore. Then he applied for a police job. He got a police job through contacts. Turns out he was rubbish at that as well. So now we're a destitute person. So, we didn't take our specialization. Oops. Sorry, I was meant to have picked up a specialization from my. Isn't that right? Choose one specialization relevant to your expertise. Yes. So we'll just quickly go to specializations. My apologies, I did not pick up the specialization. I can also choose to take a talent instead. So we'll just need to get to... okay. Here we go. All right, so here's all the skills that we've been playing with. Quite fascinating. Now, I get to choose a specialization, and I get to choose, in effect, a specialization. I'm going to take a specialization and a talent because I did 2 pre-war things. So I'm going to take one of each. It kind of makes a lot of sense to take a specialization that's attached to your skills that you already have, I would argue. And my best skill is survival. So I'm going to take a specialization in my survival skill. Let's see, what do we got? We got geography, so I've got a good direction sense. Doesn't seem logical. We've got quartermaster. I'm good at food and water acquisition. Starting to sound a bit more like my character. Sustenance. I'm good at food and water acquisition in the wilderness. Maybe. And Trailblazer. You're good at finding a path and moving deftly through the wilderness. No, definitely not my character. Definitely not the image I'm building of my character based on this life path generator. So I'm going to take Quartermaster because I think I'm dodgy as hell. And I don't think I'm actually very good. But I'm great, even though it doesn't appear to be true based on my current skills. I think I'm actually kind of good at basically finagling my way into things. Okay, so I took Quartermaster, and I also got a talent. So now talents are sort of like generic. Yeah, they're like specializations are specific to enhancing a particular skill. Talents are a little broader. I like the idea of charismatic because I'm basically a chancer, right? Like, I'm kind of rubbish at everything, but I persuade people to let me have a crack and do things, and then eventually they work out I'm rubbish and they get rid of me, but before then, they keep me around. So I'm going to take that. Charismatic. You're naturally charismatic, and people are drawn to you by your character, personality, confidence, or good looks. The combination of all, you gain +2 dice to persuasion when dealing with those who may be disposed to listen to you. So I think that's exactly the character trait I want for my character. And the logic of it is disposed to listen to you. So you can see it in his life path. He got the jobs, convinced people, they listened to him, and then over time they stopped listening because he was clearly rubbish. So we got rid of that. Okay, so I've now got my 1 specialization and my 1 talent from my 2 pre-war experiences, to be clear. So I had to choose 1 for each, and I have done so. Okay. At this stage, you're allocated 1 point. We've done our pre-war. We were about to do our war experience, and I think we'd worked out that we had crashed on hard times, which actually kind of makes sense considering the trajectory of our life path. Bit of fun there. So let's go back to that table. Oh, sorry. War years. There it is. Civilian working classes. Okay, I'm loving this guy. Okay, I rolled a 2. I ended up being a construction labourer. I have calisthenics, I have stamina, and I have throw. Now, note, you can put 4 skill points, 4 points to skills of your choice, and choose 1 relevant specialisation. Okay, so I can actually put them wherever I want now, I'm pretty sure. You can, stage will allocate your final 4 skill points and go wherever I want. So I'm going to go with I'm actually going to increase my calisthenics by 1 just to show that I'm a strong bugger. I'm going to actually give myself some persuasion skill because I'm going to need that to make the character make sense. I'm definitely not buying command, which gives me 1 more skill point. I would like to go with close combat, maybe. So I'm not bad in a punching, fisting fight. So I basically scrabbled to survive, yeah? So that's how I've spent my last things, and I choose another relevant specialization. So let's just quickly flick down to that specialization table again. And this time, I think we are going to take a close combat skill, or a calisthenic skill, actually. No, let's take a calisthenic specialization, because it kind of works for the character. Okay, so I can either take, Pathfinder, doesn't seem sensible. I don't think I'm a great runner. I do like the idea of strong arm. You can throw items or weapons 1 range further than normal. That's kind of cool. Or any calisthenics or tech roll involving manhandling of engine parts, heavy gun barrels, ammo crates would gain a +1. So I'm basically really strong. I'm going to actually go with that. I think that's kind of the character story in Incarnate. Now, then what we've chosen our specialization. So now if we go back, I think I've missed something, but we'll just check that because I have a sinking suspicion I'm 1 point short on skills. And here it is. Okay, so I rolled 2. I'm in the prime of my life, 26 to 35. Interesting. I have 14 stat points. Yep, that's right. And I have a total of 12 skill points and 4 talents and specializations. Okay, so somewhere along the line, I apologize, I have missed a talent. Okay, so pre-war experience will fill in more of your personal history. At this stage, you will be allocated 1 skill point based on your experience and get to allocate 2 more of your choice. You also get to choose to take either 1 talent or 1 specialization. I didn't take a talent for when I was in my upbringing, which was an option. So I need to go back and choose a talent for my upbringing. So apologies for that. That was my miss. So that was when I was rich and fat and doing really well. So let's have a look at what that could give us. I'm not particularly lucky. I definitely wouldn't have been selfless. I'm not rugged. Don't think I'm intimidating based on my background. I'm going to take Judge of Character. For no reason other than I like it. Okay. So I am a Judge of Character, which means you can smell a mile off. You gain +2 dice to my insight. So I have some insight, so it's lucky. When attempting to spot a lie or someone telling you something other than the whole truth, each success may allow you to work out what the lie was. Cool. Okay, so now if we go back, I think we'll find I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 13 skill points. Okay, so once again, I've snuffed it. I think I've got 1 more skill point than I should have. Let's just go back and check. So, yeah, 2 rolls is 12. I've obviously added 1 in that I shouldn't have. Although, have I? Let's have a look. 3 skill points to start. Then I got 1 plus 2... and then I did it again, so that's 3, 6, 9. More pre-war experience. I only got 1 additional skill point. So I think the second of my pre-war experiences was when I picked up I picked up infiltration, and let's go back and check. We might just need to knock that back. So the second pre-war roll did not give me 2 additional skill points. It only gave me 1. So that is my stuff up. So I will just go back to the policing. It was stamina and insight. So I will... I think I'll reduce my stamina to 0. Yep. Okay. Okay, so I've taken my stamina back to 0, which is fine. And we are now completely up to date and we are balanced. Okay, so then we're just at the kind of cleaning up the character sheet stage. Obviously, the most important thing I have to do is I have to distribute my 14 stats. Remember that I had an intelligence max of 5 and any other stat at 4 because I rolled intelligence as my key stat. So I'm going to, despite that, only going to put 3 in intelligence. I'm going to put 4 here. I'm going to put 4 there. And that's 12, 11, which gives me 3 strength. Okay, so what that means is when I get to dice pools, I'm going to get to roll 5 dice for calisthenics, but only 4 dice for close combat. I'm going to roll 5 dice for drive, 5 dice for range combat, 5 dice for infiltrate. I'm going to roll 4 dice for insight and 5 dice for survival. And I'm going to roll 5 dice for guts and 6 dice for persuasion, plus my charismatic, which will give me an extra 2 dice when I'm trying to persuade people to do stuff for me and they're persuaded to listen. Okay, so finishing off my character. Okay, so I divide my physical resilience by... So I add my strength and agility together, halve it, and then I round up. Okay, so my hit points will be 4, 3, which is 7, halved is 3.5. Oh, no, that's not so good. Oh, yep, there it is, back now. Oh, all good. So I have 4 hit points as a result. And then my mental resilience is, unsurprisingly, my intelligence plus my empathy. Once again, 4 plus 3 is 7, halved and rounded up is 4. Okay, we already got 2 floors, so I am assuming I just have 1. You may already have 1 from your life path. Well, I picked up 2 according to the rules. I don't think I got an advantage. So, sorry, a virtue. So I'm going to choose my virtue, and I'm going to choose... And look, this can be anything you want. It adds to your experience. It also might give you a bonus to a dice when you're doing things. I'm certainly not anything like generous or friendly. Maybe I'm friendly. Maybe I care. I think, despite all of that, I'm very self-confident. So there's the other side of arrogance, right? Like when the chips are down, I'll back myself. So I'll make that play and trust that I'm going to pull it off. So that's what I've decided will be my virtue. I can now choose a buddy. Now, a buddy is another player. I have no other players at the moment, so I'm just going to put in Frankie, because Frankie seems to be the sort of guy that I back. Now, we saw my background. It was written large, so, based on my thing, I'm the child of industrialists who fell on hard times. I've struggled to hold a job. And, so forth and so on. Joined up as a last resort. Not because... Whoops, sorry. Might help if I could spell because. I believe. Cool as. My appearance, pretty. I think I'm pretty worn by now. Yeah, worn, weathered. My, maybe I've got one item. So has a watch that is very expensive. The last remnant of who he was and what he was when he grew up. So that last heirloom of his family that he's held on to for all of this time and never gotten rid of. Rank. I'm a private. That's what I am. I'm a private. Nothing more, nothing less. And I'm joining the paras. Joining the airborne division. Now, because I rolled the civilian and I didn't go with the military, up until now the assumption is that I've been just working as, working, and then I've joined up. Now, I could have chosen a military background and then I could have specifically targeted airborne division. I didn't do that. That was my choice. But as it turns out, he probably rates. So the big thing for joining up the airborne in the rules is you must have 3 average stats. So you can't have a stat lower than 3. I don't. So I'm all good. So I will be I will be joining up. What's his name? What's his real name? Franklin. I really want to write Franklin Delano Roosevelt, but I'm not going to. Franklin Delvane III, because that's his real name. But his actual name, everyone knows him as Roscoe, for no apparent reason. Because I like Roscoe as a name. Okay, he's a private. He's going to be joining the airborne. 101 ST. He's not in, I think it's Bravo Company for obvious reasons. Like I said, his name and his nickname are covered. My name would go in there. Now, the only other thing I've got to choose is gear. Now, gear goes down here. So just to really quickly go over what gear is. So you've got 2 types. You've obviously got weapons and then you've got everything else. There's standard packs in the rules for what an airborne is carrying. And I might just try and find it. Sorry if it takes me a second to do so. It wasn't something I had planned to show, but now I'm thinking I should have planned to show. Actually, it might be above the Lifepath generator in the archetype space. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get out of here. Get out of here. Okay, it's not, which is fantastic and not at all embarrassing for me. The gear chapter. Okay, hold on. Let's go to the gear chapter, people. And that's where we will find all the gearing. Now, it's at the bottom, of course, because it's after the combat rules. So there's all those beautiful combat rules. There's all those more beautiful combat rules, even more beautiful combat rules. There's a lot of combat rules. And there's some dying rules. Don't dwell on it. There's some vehicle rules. They're also awesome. Aha! Oh, no. Weapons for vehicles. Vehicle weapons. Don't want to know about those. Okay. I am in the gear. Well, I'm in the weapons space. So let's just talk about weapons for 1 second while we're here. Okay, so we've got the concept of a bonus. So what a bonus is it's additional die that you roll when you roll a hit. So if I'm rolling my range combat, I would have 4 dice for agility, 1 dice for range combat, and potentially 1 or more gear dice, as they're known, based on the weapon that I'm firing. Now, I am not an officer, so I will assume that I am carrying an M1 carbine, or possibly on a really good day, and where's that assault rifle? It's down here, isn't it? Yep. Or a submachine gun, like a Thompson. or the Browning automatic rifle, which you can see add more dice. So they are highly accurate. The Browning automatic rifle adds 2 dice. Bonus to the weapon. Then we've got availability, which hasn't been filled in, which is just meant to represent how hard it is to find one. We've got weight, so I can only carry a certain amount of gear. I think it's twice my strength, but don't quote me on that because I'm not looking at it right now. Ammo, how much ammo I carry, what the range of the weapon is. Now, this range box has completely changed. We're now using a different model where it's the minimum range of the weapon, so each weapon has an individual range, and then there's a multiplier out to stretch it to its maximum range. So, for instance, a pistol might have a minimum range of 5, let's say, and therefore at extreme range, which is how when it's accurate, not where the bullet goes. Bullets go for a very long way, but how accurately can you shoot it? Maybe it only goes out to 40 meters, and that's at a push. Which is 40 yards, give or take, in American. I'm making that number up, by the way. Please do not criticize me. Then there's a separate damage roll, which is what you roll when you've successfully landed a hit. You roll a damage roll, which is a D10, plus the damage bonus, plus any other bonuses you seek to apply. And then you've got special. So I am going to give him a Browning automatic rifle, because why not? Okay, so it weighs a ton, of course. If I can get the character sheet to update. Thank you, character sheet. Its rate of fire is 40, so that's in a round. If I go full auto, I am going to empty my clip before the end of the round. It's got 20. Let's keep the ranges as they're currently written. It's got a bonus of 2, so that's going to give me those 2 dice. So when I shoot it, agility, range combat plus gear is going to give me 6 dice. It's got a damage bonus of 2, which means when I roll the d10 for damage, I'm going to start with an innate bonus of plus 2. And then if I have additional bonuses arising from extra successes, for instance, in my range combat, that might go above that. And it's capable of firing both semi and full automatic. Okay. Awesome. So that's that. That's a weapons. Now, gear. You can see that you've got a write-up here of what you're carrying. You might carry entrenching tools. You might carry... this is the standard gear, sorry. This is all your gear. You're carrying a Griswold bag. You're carrying a Musette bag with the suspenders. You don't, in this case, I'm not carrying SMG. I'm carrying a bar, so I'm going to get a different kit out there. So you read it down, and you put each item just in here. So I would say I've got a Griswold bag, and so forth and so on. I'm not going to do that because that will be boring. And that will give you your complete character. So that is Lifepath generation. It is far more engaging as a personal point of view than the archetype. Obviously, it takes more time, but you build a fascinating background for your character, and that's what you're looking for. I hope you found this of use. And yeah, looking forward to when the game is officially released. Thank you. Bye.